Hi everyone, I am Mahezabeen and I would like to thank Indian Youth Development Skill India IYDS for giving me an opportunity to take up a session on stress management. So before we proceed further with stress management, I would like to talk a bit about the current situation we are going through. The outbreak of coronavirus disease 2019 has created a global health crisis that has had a deep impact on the way we perceive our world and our everyday lives. It has turned our lives upside down. Even in our dreams, we could not have imagined ourselves confined to our home, with no outings and unable to meet our friends and relatives. The main symptom of coronavirus are a high temperature, a new continuous cough, and a loss or change to your sense of smell or taste. To help stop the spread of coronavirus, avoid close contact with everyone you do not live with and wash your hands regularly. You can usually treat mild coronavirus symptoms at home. If your symptoms are severe, you may need medical care until you recover. Coronavirus cases are rapidly surging the world over and in countries like us. It is spreading in an even more alarming way. While vaccines may take a minimum of 2-3 years to fully work, identifying and preventing symptoms is the only real way to stop the infection from taking such a ghastly turn. At this time, there are no specific vaccines or treatments for COVID-19. However, there are many ongoing clinical trials evaluating potential treatment. India's current coronavirus tallies stand above 39 lakh, while active cases are over 8.3 lakh. 30 lakh recoveries have taken place and 1,096 deaths were registered in the past 24 hours, taking the death toll to 68,472. As per the Health Ministry, meanwhile, US rates have been told to be ready to distribute coronavirus vaccines by November 1. Also, data on seen by coronavirus vaccine candidate is expected to be out in the next 1 month. French and British drug makers say they are beginning human trials to a potential vaccine for coronavirus after positive result from preclinical testing. Global tally of coronavirus cases stand at 2,58,84,895, including 8,59,130 deaths reported to WHO. So please follow the guidelines given by the government and take all the safety measures and precautions before going out from your house. We pray that we all stay safe from this deadly virus. I would request you all to please stay connected with us throughout the session. We will be sharing our feedback form at the end of the session. Please share your valuable comments to mark your presence. So now move to our next slide and let's check what are we going to talk about now. Introduction, managing stress. What is stress? Sign of stress, type of stress, symptoms of stress, stress management techniques. Is all stress bad? Other helpful tips. Benefits of stress management, relaxation, what is COVID-19, impact of COVID-19 on stress, managing stress during COVID-19, what is suicide, what are the circumstances of suicide, impact of COVID-19 on suicide, how to cope with suicidal thoughts, always stay positive in life. Conclusion. Now let's move to our next slide and let's talk about how we can manage stress. Let's be honest, stress is something we all understand. It's universal. We experience it for many reasons. Being unhappy in your job, facing discrimination or harassment at work, increase in financial obligation, emotional problems, etc. Stress is a reaction to a changing, demanding environment. Properly considered, stress is really more about our capacity to handle change than it is about whether that change makes us feel good or bad. Change happens all the time, and stress is in large part what we feel when we are reacting to it. Our experience of stress varies in intensity between high and low. How intensely stressed we feel in response to a particular event has to do with how much we need to accomplish in order to meet the demands of that situation. When we don't have to do much in order to keep up with demands, we don't experience much stress. Conversely, when we have to do a lot, we tend to feel much more stressed out. Generally speaking, people do not like experiencing this extreme of stress. This is true for each end of the spectrum of stress intensity, both high and low. Few people enjoy the feeling of being overwhelming stress in the face of great change, of stress either at least after a while. There is a word for such a condition which conveys this negative meaning boredom. In this module, we will talk how about coping strategies that can help you safely and effectively reduce your stress. So now let's move to our next slide and let's understand what actually stress is. Stress is a feeling of being under abnormal pressure. The pressure can come from different aspects of your day-to-day life, such as an increased workload, a traditional period, an argument you have with your family, or new and existing worries. You may find that it has a cumulative effect with each stressor building on top of one another. During this situation, you may feel threatened or upset, and your body might create a stress response. This can cause a variety of physical symptoms, change the way you behave, and lead you to experience more intense emotions. Stress affects us in a number of ways, both physically and emotionally, and in varying intensities. If you are experiencing these symptoms for a prolonged period and feel they are affecting your everyday life or are making you feel unwell, you should speak to your family. What are the causes of stress? All sort of situations can cause stress. The most common involve work, money, matters, and relationship with partners, children, or other family members. Stress may be caused either by major uphills and life events such as divorce, unemployment, moving house, and financial issues, or by a series of minor irritations such as feeling under-evaluated at working or arguing with family member. How can you help yourself from stress? Stress is a natural reaction to many situations in life, such as work, family, relationship, money problems. We mentioned earlier on that moderate amount of stress can help us perform better in challenging situations. But too much or prolonged stress can lead to physical problems. This can include lower immunity levels, digestive and intestinal difficulties. Example, irritable bowel syndrome, or mental health problems such as depression. It is therefore important that we manage our stress and keep it as healthy level to prevent long-term damage to our bodies and minds. Remember to seek help and support when you need it. Remember that it is okay to ask for professional help. If you feel that you are struggling to manage on your own, then you can reach out. It is important to know that you can get help as soon as possible and that you deserve to get better. The first person to approach is your family member and your family doctor. He or she should be able to give advice about treatment and may refer you to another local professional. Cognitive behavior therapy and mindfulness-based approaches are known to help reduce stress. There are also a number of volunteer organizations which can help you to tackle the causes of stress and advise you about the ways to get better. So now let's move to our next slide and let's talk about the sign of stress. The most dangerous thing about stress is how easily it can creep up you on. You get used to it. It starts to feel familiar, even normal. You don't notice how much it's affecting you, even as it takes a heavy toll. That's why it's important to be aware of the common warning sign of stress overload. Excess stress can manifest itself in a variety of emotional, behavioral, and even physical symptoms. And the symptoms of stress vary enormously among different individuals. Common physical symptoms often reported by those experiencing excess stress include sleep disturbance or change in sleeping habits, muscle tension, muscle ache, headache, gastrointestinal problems, and fatigue. Symptoms of many pre-existing medical condition can also worsen during time of stress. Emotional and behavioral symptoms that can accompany excess stress include nervousness, anxiety, changes in eating habits, including overeating and undereating, loss of enthusiasm or energy, and mood changes like irritability and depression. Of course, none of these signs or symptoms mean for certain that there is an evaluated stress level. Since all of these symptoms can be caused by other medical conditions, it is also known that people under stress have a greater tendency to engage in unhealthy behaviors, such as excessive use or abuse of alcohol and drugs, cigarette smoking, and making poor exercise and nutritional choices than their less stressed counterparts. These unhealthy behaviors can further increase the severity of symptoms related to stress. The experience of stress is highly individualized. What constitutes overwhelming stress for one person may not be perceived as stress by another. Likewise, the symptoms and signs of poorly managed stress will be different from persons. I hope all of you are getting my point. So now let's move to our next slide and let's talk about what are the types of stress. Acute stress. This is the most severe form of stress which demands the body's immediate reaction to a new challenge, event, or demand. Acute stress is not always negative. It can even be experienced while on a roller coaster in the form of fear. Stress suffered as a victim of a crime or life-threatening situation can cause mental health problems like post-traumatic stress disorder or stress order acute. Episodic acute stress. Frequent occurrence of acute stress is called episodic acute stress. People who are often anxious, irritable, or short-tempered experience this kind of stress. Victims carry a persistent negative outlook to everything and worry over very small issues. Negative health effects occur in people with episodic acute stress. These people accept stress as a part of their life and it is difficult for them to alter their lifestyle. Chronic stress. If acute stress prolongs for a longer period of time, it becomes chronic stress. This kind of stress is constant and doesn't easily go away. It results from financial troubles, an unhappy marriage, a bad job, or a dysfunctional family. Chronic stress is harmful for your health and can lead to diseases such as heart alignments and depression. Physical stress. Physical stress can occur from trauma due to injury, infection, or any kind of surgery, intense physical labor, environmental pollution, inadequate oxygen supply, fatigue, hormonal imbalance, dehydration, substances abuse, dental problems, among others. Psychological stress. This includes emotional stress from fear, frustration, sadness, anger, and grief, and cognitive stress from jealousy, attachment, anxiety, panic attack, or self-criticism. It basically refers to the emotion and psychological reaction experienced when an individual comes across a situation. Psychosocial stress. This stress comes from relationship of an employee-employer, siblings of family, lack of social support, loss of employment, loss of loved ones, and isolation, and lead to this kind of stress. Now let's move to the next slide and let's talk what are the symptoms of stress. Intense and prolonged stress reduces performance and can have serious problems on one's health. Furthermore, reaction can vary, making it even more difficult to detect. Emotional symptoms. Becoming easily agitated, frustrated, and moody. Feeling overwhelmed like you are losing control or need to take control. Having difficulty relaxing and quietening your mind. Having difficulty relaxing and quietening your mind. Feeling bad about yourself, lonely, worthless, and depressed. Avoiding others. Physical symptoms. This type of stress include low energy, headache, upset stomach, including diarrhea, constipation, ache pains and tense muscles, chest pain and rapid heartbeat, frequent colds and infection, loss of sexual desire and or ability, nervousness and shaking, ringing in the ear, cold or sweaty hands and feet, dry mouth, clenched jaw, and grinding teeth. Cognitive symptoms. These types of stress include constant worry, racing thoughts, forgetfulness and disorganization, inability to focus, poor judgment, being pessimistic or seeing only the negative side. Behavioral symptoms. These symptoms include changes in appetite, either not eating or eating too much, procrastinating and avoiding responsibilities, increased use of alcohol, drugs or cigarettes, exhibiting more nervous behaviors such as nail biting, fidgeting, and pacing. So now let's move to our next slide and let's see what are the techniques of stress management. Take a 10-minute walk. According to a few experts, if you take a walk, it will help reduce endorphins in the system that causes stress. Practice mindfulness. Learning to focus on your breathing can help you reduce stress. If you are able to take a few minutes out of day and breathe in silence, this can greatly help you reduce your stress. Create an exercise regimen. If you can spend some time of your day getting in a workout that you enjoy for about 45, this can also help reduce the amount of stress that you receive and help you manage it. Write a reflection journal. Create a journal where you can write down your thoughts and process events that have happened to you. This can help you get a fresh perspective about the situation you are in. Organize yourself. Set aside a few minutes a day to create a planner in order to get your thoughts straight and take in a chill pill to avoid the jokes that might be taking place around you currently. These are just few points and tips to help you get the stress you may have under control. One of the best way you can control your stress is by coming up with ideas on your own that you have worked on, reducing those stressful moments. The best stress manager is yourself. So now let's move to our next slide and let's see, is all stress bad? Stress is an unavoidable reality of life. But stress isn't always a bad thing. It's a natural physical response that can trigger our fight or flight response. Stress can increase our awareness in difficult or dangerous situations, allowing us to act quickly in the moment. In addition, there are various health benefits with a little bit of stress. Researchers believe that some stress can help to fortify the immune system. For instance, stress can improve how your heart works and protect your body from infection. What you can do? Stress is an inevitable part of life, but you can improve the way you respond to stress and avoid or change some of the situations that create negative stress. So now let's move to our next slide and let's see what are the other helpful tips. If you are stressed, whether by your job or something more personal, the first step to feeling better is to identify the cause. It's all too easy to overlook how your own thoughts, feelings, and behavior contribute to your everyday stress levels. Sure, you may know that you are constantly worried about work deadlines, but maybe it's your procrastination rather than the actual job demands that is causing the stress. To identify your true source of stress, look closely at your habits, attitudes, and excuses. Lastly, until you accept responsibility for the role you play in creating or maintaining it, your stress level will remain outside your control. To our next slide and let's see what are the benefits of stress management. There is no benefit to putting our minds through the endless cycle of stress, day in and day out. It can be exhausting and very bad for your health. While some type of stress can be useful as it can help you think quickly and solve problems, most type of stress are often unnecessary and even be harmful to your health. That's why it is so important to learn how to manage stress. When our brain are stressed out, we do not perform as well as we would when we are able to think clearly and focus on the task at hand. Your creativity, motivation, productivity, and even your immune health can suffer due to chronic ongoing stress. But stress is your life. You gain back the control to be creative, focused, and resourceful. So now let's move to our next slide and let's talk about the relaxation. While it's impossible to eliminate all negative stress from your life, you can control the way you react to stress. Your body's natural fight or flight response can take its toll. When you are faced with a stressful situation that your mind perceives as a threat, it sends various chemicals and adrenaline and cortisol throughout your body. As a result, heart rate and breathing speeds up and your digestion slows down. This tires our body. Relaxation techniques are a huge help in calming you down, boosting mood, and fighting illness. Try a variety of techniques like yoga, breathing, exercise, meditation, and visualize to see what works for you and schedule a relaxation break every day. So now let's move to our next slide and let's talk what is COVID-19. COVID-19 pandemic, also known as the coronavirus pandemic, is an ongoing pandemic of coronavirus disease 2019 caused by severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus. The disease was first identified in December 2019 in Wuhan, China. The World Health Organization declared the outbreak a public health emergency of international concern on 30th January 2020 and a pandemic on 11th March 2020. As of 12 September 2020, more than 28.5 million cases have been reported in more than 188 countries and territories, resulting in more than 916,000 deaths and more than 19.2 million people recovered. The virus is spread primarily via small droplets from coughing, sneezing, and talking. The droplets are usually not airborne. However, those standing in close proximity may inhale them and become infected. People may also become infected by touching a contaminated surface and then touching their face. Now let's move to our next slide and let's see how we can manage stress during COVID-19. Avoid spending most of the time in social media and watching the news. The constantly negative news can be a lot to handle. Decide the amount of exposure to the news that works for you. Especially if there are children involved, make sure you expose them to only age-appropriate material. Exercise regularly. Aerobic exercises can still done within the wall of your home or the compound of your apartment, such as walking, running, or climbing stairs. Even playing with your pets or kids can help you burn some calories. Exercise helps release endorphins within your system, which play a vital role in evaluating your mood and keeping a positive attitude. Stretching, exercise, and yoga also help you fit and your mind calm. Do virtual meetups or playmates. During this time of uncertainty or fear, it is essential to connect with others. Being in isolation and all the unwanted fear can lead to stress and depression. Reach out to family, friends, and colleagues regularly through phone calls, messages, or emails. Check on those who are living by themselves and the elderly member of your family. It also helps to rationalize your fear and be informed on how they are doing. Play interactive games or do household chores. Watch shows and television or stream online. Get comfortable and get ready to commit hours of your life to view someone else's drama. If you have kids at home, play Disney and other animated movies, keeping them occupied for hours at once. Spend time in cleaning your house, reorganize your furniture, or rearrange your wardrobe. Get creative. Pick up a hobby like planting flowers if you have an interest in gardening, or try out new recipes and curate something. Hope you always wanted to try your hand at baking. This is the time to see that which comes true. Be patient and start with the basic recipe to discover a possible hidden talent in you. You can even paint your imagination on a paper. Take the necessary and recommended measures. If you need help with groceries or medications for someone at home, do not hesitate to contact for help. Similarly, if you are stepping out, you can take a list of errands from elderly or sick people who cannot get out. Helping people out gives you a sense of fulfillment and calms the restless mind. Spend time with your family. Receiving support and care from others has a powerful effect on helping us cope with colleagues. Spending time with supportive family and friends can bring a sense of comfort and stability. Talking through our concerned thoughts and feelings with others can also help us find helpful ways of thinking about or dealing with a stressful situation. Be kind to yourself and others. Give yourself permission to escape and let go for a little while. Take a few minutes to focus on your good qualities. When you do something you are proud of, however small, stop for a minute and focus on it. Try writing things you appreciate about yourself. So now let's move to the next slide and let's talk what are the impact of COVID-19 on stress. The COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting economic recession have negatively affected many people's mental health and created new barriers for people already suffering from mental illness and substance use disorder. In a KFF tracking poll conducted in mid-July, 53% of adults in the United States reported that their mental health has been negatively impacted due to worry and stress over the coronavirus. This is significantly higher than the 32% reported in March. The first time this question was included in KFF polling, Many adults are also reporting specific negative impact on their mental health and well-being, such as difficulty sleeping or eating, increase in alcohol consumption or substances use, and chronic condition due to worry and stress over the coronavirus. As the pandemic wears on, ongoing and necessary public health measures expose many people to experience situations linked to poor mental health outcomes such as isolations and job loss. So now let's move to our next slide and let's talk what is suicide. Suicide means ending your own life. It's something a way for people to escape pain or suffering. When someone ends their own life, we say that they died by suicide. A suicide attempt means that someone tried to end their life but did not die. Thinking about suicide is scary. You may have strong feelings that are hard to deal with. You may feel like things will never be better, but you are not alone. Many people think about suicide. Thinking about suicide does not mean that you will do it. It does not mean that you are going crazy. Thinking about suicide is often a sign that you want to escape. These are ways to feel better. Remember, you are not alone. You can start by talking to someone else. You can talk to a family member or friend you trust. India also had the third highest female suicide rate, 14.7 in the world, after Lesotho 24.4 and Republic of Korea 15.4. All the data pertains to the WHO estimate of 2019. Around 8 lakh people commit suicide every year in the world according to World Health Organization report. So now let's move to our next slide and let's talk what are the circumstances of suicide. No one can say that they will never have thoughts of suicide. You can do two big things to help prevent suicide. The first is to build connection with other people. The second is to find help for mental health problems. There are many circumstances which can contribute to someone's decision to end his or her life. But a person's feeling about those circumstances are more important than the circumstances themselves. All people who consider suicide feel that life is unbearable. They have an extreme sense of hopelessness, helplessness, and desperation. With some type of mental illness, people hear voices or have delusion which prompt them to kill themselves. People who talk about dying by suicide or make an attempt do not necessarily want to die. Often they are reaching out for help. Sometimes a suicide attempt becomes a turning point in a person's life if there is enough support to help him or her make necessary changes. If someone you know is feeling desperate enough to attempt suicide, you may be able to help him or her find a better way to cope. If you yourself are so distressed that you cannot think of any way out except by ending it all, remember, help for your problem is available. So let's move to our next slide and let's see what are the impact of COVID-19 on suicide. The physical symptoms of the novel coronavirus have been well reported for months, but it's the handful of psychological and sociological factors that are just starting to ring alarm bells. The combination of physical distancing, economic stress, barriers, and mental health treatments, feeling of anxiety and depression. Millions of people have lost their job, some have lost their homes or business. Stress-related psychiatric conditions, including mood and substance use disorder, are associated with suicidal behavior. COVID-19 survivors may also be at elevated suicide risk. The COVID-19 crisis may increase suicide rates during and after the pandemic. Mental health consequences of the COVID-19 crisis, including suicidal behavior, are likely to be present for a long time, and people later than the actual pandemic. To reduce suicidal during the COVID-19 crisis, it is imperative to decrease stress, anxiety, fear, and loneliness in the general population. There should be traditional and social media campaigns to promote mental health and reduce stress. So now let's move to our next slide. Let's see how to cope with suicidal thoughts. Suicidal thoughts can be very difficult to deal with or understand. Sometimes they can be fleeting, but other times they can be strong urges or fantasies that promise relief from seemingly unbearable pain. There are ways to overcome suicidal thoughts that can move you away from hurting yourself and towards recovery. Though you may think you will never act on them, all suicidal thoughts needs to be taken seriously. Though you feel like withdrawing, ask trusted friends to spend time with you. Develop a set of steps that you can follow during a suicidal crisis. It should include contact numbers of your doctor or therapist as well as friends and family members who will help you in emergency. Make a written schedule for yourself every day and stick to it. No matter what, keep a regular routine as much as possible. Even when your feelings seem out of control, get out in the sun or into nature for at least 30 minutes a day. Exercise as vigorously as is safe for you. To get the most benefit, aim for 30 minutes of exercise per day. But you can start small. 3 10-minute bursts of activity can have a positive effect on mood. Make time for things that bring you joy. Even if very few things brings you pleasure at the moment, force yourself to do the things you used to enjoy. Remember your personal goal. You may have always wanted to travel to a particular place, read a specific book, own a pet, move to another place, learn a new hobby, volunteer, go back to school, or start a family. Write your personal goals down. Let's move to our next slide and let's see what are the conclusion of stress. Stress is a fact of life. Whatever you are and whether you are doing, you cannot avoid stress. But you can learn to manage it so it doesn't manage you. Change in our lives, such as going to college, getting married, changing jobs, or illness, are frequent sources of stress. Keep in mind that changes that cause stress can also benefit you. Moving away from home to attend college, for example, create personal development opportunities, new challenges, friends, and living arrangements. That is why it's important to know yourself and carefully consider the cause of stress. Learning to do this takes time, and although you cannot avoid stress, the good news is that you can minimize the harmful effect of stress, such as depression and hypertension. Managing stress can help reduce the stress and make you feel more healthier. We have to remember that we can not change the view of others, but prepare ourselves to prove our point. No one is perfect, so do not underestimate yourself. Always try to practice out for different relaxation techniques. Always think positively and keep a positive attitude. Be diligent, work hard, do your very best at all times. Follow basic principles and professional ethics. Take precaution. Ask yourself what you are about to do. Say, as it is fair, how could you feel if others get to know? Pray and praise God always. Thank you for staying connected with us. Please fill the feedback form to avail the certificate, and please do not Leave the WhatsApp group until you receive the certificate. Thank you.